What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Shower Thoughts podcast. I believe this is episode 11. My name is Brennan. With me are my co-hosts Anthony Chan
Yep, that's me. Back at it.
and Ethan Chang.
What up? What up?
And also today we have a very special guest with us, Ethan Rosen. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Awesome. Well, thanks to the crew of Shower Thoughts. Great to be here. I was pestering Brennan, let me on the podcast for a couple weeks now. So finally, glad to be here and glad to shoot the shit with the boys. But a little about myself. My name is Ethan Rosen, a sophomore here at Northwestern. Went to New Trier High School with these guys, and so been a couple years, but great to see these faces again. Studying economics, organizational change, business, and yeah, we'll kind of dive deeper into those components. But again, great to be here and excited for this conversation.
Yeah, well, honestly, I think we were all just honored. I can speak for all three of us. We were just honored that someone reached out to us and like, hey, if you love the podcast, I want to come on. And we're like, yeah, no, of course. Like, we'd love to have people on. I think our guest episodes, just like looking through our catalog of episodes, are some of our best. So it's always nice to just have someone else on, get a new fresh perspective. And I think it's really cool that you go to Northwestern because, I go to school very far from where I live, right? So I guess the question for you is just like, how is it going to school, like just a few miles away maybe from where you live?
Yeah, no, great question. It's definitely something that it's one of those things like you don't really know how to explain it until you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, Chan, if you want to hop in and speak to that too, but like it's, especially with the nature of COVID and everything and work from home and remote classes, you find yourself like sequestered and stuck in one spot more than often. And so great to have like a place to fall back on, a home cooked meal, going out with the parents, getting a haircut. And so like stuff like that is, you don't realize how beneficial it is, until you can do it. But just kind of just being close to home, I guess the key thing is boundaries. Like if you can't find people, parents wise, siblings who understand you're in college, you're in a different world, then it's gonna suck. But I've been really fortunate that my parents have been like incredibly understanding. Like they're offering, do you want to go grab dinner? You want to go grab lunch or something? Like on my best days and on my worst days. And so it's great to have that kind of that cushion and that support system here.
Yeah. Can I ask, do you go home to do your laundry or do you do it at school?
It's funny you say that. That's like when I came here, I'd get like scolded. Like, oh, you're gonna do like kids from like here, like you're gonna do your laundry at home. I'm like, dude, why do you care? Like maybe I will. But no, like
answer the question, Ethan?
Last year I got lucky in the dorm I was living in, had laundry in there. And this year in my fraternity, have laundry in there as well. Fall quarter, we're on the quarter system here. Not sure if you guys are on the same sitch, but
I hate the quarter. I don't do the quarter system, but I know people who are on it and it sounds like it's hell. But
Yeah.
Loyola, right? Is Loyola on it?
No, Loyola is not on the quarter system.
Got it. Well, I guess we can hop in and then speak to that later. But laundry wise, fortunately, my girlfriend had an apartment last quarter, so I was able to bring my stuff there. I did my laundry myself, like I should. But very fortunate to have had that when I didn't have it last quarter. So to that point, have a great network of people who are available and who are there to help me.
That's cool. Yeah, I know, Anthony, I don't think we've talked yet about school. I know we talked about being at Loyola, but like, does it feel weird to be just so close to home?
I mean, at first I did not. So last year I did not like being close to home at all. But I mean, definitely having
just because it feels like you're, not in college or what?
Yeah, it just didn't. So at first I just felt like it's just so close to home. I'm not getting like that full like college experience of being like away from home. But honestly, at Loyola Chicago, it doesn't even feel like after like being here for a while, it doesn't even feel like I'm close to home anymore. Because like being in the city, it's like a whole different vibe. But like Ethan said, like having understanding parents, not constantly bothering me and being like, oh, like, do you want to get lunch? And like just knowing like, oh, I need some space. I mean, overall, I definitely like being close to home. Because I can do my laundry, I can get my groceries, and also getting haircuts. That's definitely a plus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the haircuts portion, but yeah, I think you guys make a really good point in that like a huge part of it is having understanding parents. I don't know if like your parents told you guys to like stay in state or whatever because they wanted you to be close, but for my first year, I went to Illinois State and like my parents forced me to stay in state and like stay close. And so like I really did not like that. And I thought it felt like they didn't trust me, but like I think you guys make a huge point in that as long as they like respect like your independence, then it's like completely fine that you can even live like 20 minutes from them. And it just feels like you're way, way far away from them as long as they respect you.
For sure. And yeah, no, back to Chan's point, like it's when you're on campus and you're kind of going through the grind of the studies, the whatever, like hanging out with friends, going out, you feel like you're in a totally different world. And so it's like you're what I say is like you're as close as you want to be and as far as you want to be at the same time. So like you kind of pick your card there. So it's like the best of both worlds for sure.
Yeah, no, what's interesting about that is like I feel like this happens to a lot of people. Like I know here in Worcester, Mass, like I know a lot of people who live close to Boston, and like us living close to Chicago. The funny thing is, like when I was applying to U Chicago, my parents were like, "Oh, it's so close to home. Do you really want to like apply there?" And it dawned on me like I barely go into Chicago like at all. I live so close to it, and yet I feel like I barely even like explored the city at all. And like my friends here say they like barely go into Boston, or friends in New York barely go into the city. So I feel like it doesn't really feel like home, right? If it's close to you, but you never really go there at all.
For sure. And yeah, just building off that, like we have a program at Northwestern called Chicago Field Studies. And in that program you can essentially forego a quarter's worth of class and do an internship instead. And so I work 30 something hours Monday through Friday, don't take classes. And so like even at that, like I go to the office downtown, take the bus downtown every morning, commute there and back. Like, you see the city and you see kind of this area in a totally different light. Walking downtown North Michigan Avenue, walking to the office, it's like this is not. I mean, born and raised in the suburbs, going to school in the suburbs, it's a totally different ballgame. And so, like there's so much left, whether it's Chicago, Boston, to explore. And that's like a great component of like being close to home is still like you have the city, you have the suburbs, and I'm fortunate to be like situated right in between.
Yeah, Loyola actually has two campuses as well. We have a downtown campus. I remember last year, I every time I would go down there for class, it was like a whole different vibe. And I felt so cool. I was like, oh, like, I'm downtown, I'm going to class. I feel like super mature.
Wait, so Ethan Rosen, did you just say that you're not actually taking classes right now? You're doing work?
Yeah, so I'm getting credit, which is awesome. Getting credit.
Mm-hmm. Like to see that.
Always an added plus. But right now, and I'm sure you guys can speak to this in some capacity, like online classes are tough. We were touching on this a little bit before we hopped on the call, but it's like it's great. It may be easier, maybe harder, but like sitting behind a screen plugged in on hours on end is like terrible. It sucks. And I think we're all feeling that kind of more and more now that it's been nearly a year. And so for me, it's been a great opportunity to get some face-to-face interaction, some real world experience exposure, all while like adulting a little bit, going downtown, going to an office, being with professionals. And that's like a really cool experience. And so very glad to have that and to get like a little change of pace right now.
Yeah, I know in high school, I feel like you were someone who like was always staying busy in high school, right? You did easy hoops. Were you the president of DECA or just like a
I was,
member of it? Yeah, president of DECA.
Back in senior year.
Yeah, so are you like keeping that same like workflow going in the college? Like, are you staying just as busy?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, appreciate the love, of course. Am I keeping that busy? Yes and no. Yes, I'm always one for the better, the worse, kind of work till I drop. But on a different vein, keeping my time or spending my time doing different things now. So it's been good. It's definitely busy. Easy Hoops is COVID aside, still operating, still kind of that same beast we grew it to be in high school.
Yeah, I guess would you want to explain like to people who don't know what it is, like what Easy Hoops is?
So for all, I think what you guys had said you had 6,000 live viewers right now.
Yeah, pushing 1 million, I think.
Okay, good.
So there.
So a little shameless plug. Easy Hoops, easyhoops.net, at Easy Hoops on
Check them out.
Showed some love. Easy Hoops is a nonprofit I founded in my junior year of high school. It's about 2017, September of that year. And Easy Hoops is focused on life and social skill development for neurodiverse individuals. So individuals with a wide range of abilities, all sorts of backgrounds. And so the focus on Easy Hoops was providing this kind of conforming, stressful, very relaxed and flexible environment to play basketball, to hang out with friends, but kind of a deeper meaning of developing these values and virtues through the platform of basketball. And so that, yeah, Brennan, to your point, like that's been like that was a huge part of my high school experience, still holds a huge piece of my heart and just like time and schedule. But yeah, I mean, it's been an awesome experience, and kind of the motive behind it amongst many to kind of give back to the community, do a really good thing. Grew up doing a lot of work with individuals in ELS programs, which is enriching lives through service, and other programs supporting individuals with a wide range of abilities. And so that's always been important to me. But on the basketball end, I played basketball. Had my fair share of games against Anthony Chan here since 5th, 6th grade. But I always grew up loving the game. And then while everyone else kept growing, I did not. So had to pivot a little, no pun intended, into a more coaching mentorship role. And that's kind of where the Easy Hoops took off.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of sort of that volunteer kind of work, Anthony, would you like to give us an update about your AOC tutoring program and how that's going?
Yes, my AOC tutoring program. Yes. So I
really giving back to the community with that one, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like they pair us up with like the child, and then we had to contact the parent, and then we had to set up like an introductory kind of session so that we can just discuss like, oh, like this is what I want, like for the parent, like this is what I want my child to work on. But right now the two parents are not very responsive. So I've been kind of switching up on kids to tutor, but it's a really organized what's it called? Like a very organized organization. So I mean they've got their stuff figured out, and hopefully I can tutor someone soon.
Organized, you say? That's funny, Anthony. I think before we started recording, you told Chang and I that you did something today that didn't seem very organized to me. Would you like to explain?
Okay, yeah, I'll admit.
Confession time.
I took an hour nap.
Oh,
I believe naps are waste of time, but today I desperately needed it. What are your thoughts on naps, Ethan?
Wow. I wish I could get myself to nap. Chan, to your point, like I'm like, if I'm working, if I got a workflow and work stream going, I'm not gonna stop. But it's something that I definitely got to get going. I mean, kind of back to the internship note, like, getting up at 6 a.m. is hard, and it's harder when you're a 20-year-old boy who hasn't done this since high school. At that, it's a learning curve. My sleep schedule is incredibly lopsided. I mean, I get up at 6:30. I go to bed at like 11 or so, give or take, which is not conducive to being on a college campus with a bunch of boys I'm living with. But it's good. It's a learning curve, and naps are definitely probably a step in the right direction. But I've been trying to use that relaxing time, get in the gym, put up some shots, or get some cardio, and instead of napping. That way I get a break from the work, but I also get to kill two birds with one stone.
Ethan, I think you're dodging the question here. Are naps good or bad? We need to know.
I'll give you twofold on this. First, naps are great if you can fall asleep and get back up, not be groggy. And then the second part of it is if you can fall asleep normally that night. Okay. Like if you can't do that, then you're screwing yourself over. So under those premises, I'm pro nap, but like those are very hard.
Yeah, that is a hard like spot to hit, the right nap that doesn't screw you over later in the day. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion on naps.
We know your opinion on naps.
Yeah,
Anthony.
we talked about it many times on the podcast. But for Ethan Rosen, I believe no matter the circumstances, naps are always a waste of time. You can spend that time working on a new project or studying on a test, even though the work may not be as, well done. You're still working and grinding. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like naps add on to the obstacles we already are facing as like college students.
I mean, only have so many hours in a day, right?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. But I mean, I guess like adds on to like what we wanted to talk about is like failure. I feel like for me, naps can be kind of seen as like a failure, like throughout the day. It's like, oh dang it, I already took an L today. Like I took a nap.
Dude, it sounds like you put so much pressure on yourself, man. Like you just can't even take a nap without taking an L.
I don't know. Every single time I take a nap, like I wake up and I'm just like, dang it, man. Like I could have used those like 2 hours to just do some work. Like I don't know.
Yeah, Ethan Rosen. So, I mean, you're just talking about Easy Hoops and like the job you're working. I'm sure you are experiencing a lot with like interviews and applications and all that. And I think one thing I've definitely realized, personal experience, is that there's a lot of failure that comes with applying to things and interviewing for things. What is your takeaway from those experiences in terms of failure?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great question, and it's something that when you're put on the spot, it's tough to think about, just call upon a failure because, for the better or the worse, you want to cancel those out of your mind. You want to be like, oh, like
Hmm.
I did something poorly, I'm going to forget about it and move on. So it's tough there to like just call upon a failure like on the spot. But, when you guys approached me about this and kind of spoke about, let's talk about failure, let's talk about innovation, let's talk about growth, like, it puts things in perspective that there are so many failures we go through, challenges, kind of obstacles, like, but they're just so like intertwined in like the everyday kind of activities of life. So like, to your question, like, what are failures? What are obstacles? Like, how do we learn from them? It's like, we're doing this every day. They may not happen on the macro scale. Like, it may not be like, oh, I didn't get this job. I didn't get an interview. I botched the interview, or I did something poorly, but it's like every day I'm going through and I'm failing something, but we process and we act so quickly that like our next action is always like recuperating and like picking up from where we left off. And so like, yeah, I mean, it's tough to think about, but like we've definitely had a fair share. I've had my fair share with Easy Hoops, with college in general, with high school. Like, that's normal. Like, if we don't fail, we're not learning. Like, I'm very pro failing, but it's sometimes it's tough to think of like a specific example just because like we tend to overlook them and kind of like subsume them as other activities or other characteristics.
You seem to have like a really big growth mindset when it comes to failure, and that's like really good to think about, or that's really good. I'm really jealous, to be honest. But speaking from someone that hasn't always had a growth mindset, I'd say for the beginning of the first half of my life, pretty much had a fixed mindset. Always felt like I really handled failure terribly, I think, for the majority of the time. Like, whenever I failed, I think I always pivoted and like avoided it instead of taking away something positive from the situation. Example that really comes to the top of my head was like, I played hockey during like 7th and 8th grade, and then I only made like the single A team instead of the double A team. And then I got like pretty heated over that. And then I was kind of like, yeah, fuck hockey. I'm gonna play volleyball instead. So I think if you can make a takeaway from failures, then like it's really, really beneficial. Like, after like making freshman B instead of freshman A, like, main takeaway was I'm just gonna get better. And then like I definitely grew a lot from that. And also like I felt like I had to step up now. And then really just motivates you. If you can take motivation from failure less than just disappointment, then you can see it as more of a positive, just like Ethan said.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's like great point, Chang. It's like, when you think of failure, and if you're interviewing me or vice versa, and I ask you what's a big failure of yours, I don't give a fuck what you did wrong. Like, I just don't care. You don't care. I don't care. Nobody else does. But it's more important to like speak about like what did you learn from this and like going forward. Because if I'm hiring you, I'm gonna hire you post fail. So I'm gonna hire you like now that you've ideally learned this lesson, or you've like change your approach to a different situation. So like, it doesn't need to be like this grandiose solution, but if you can just take this and like apply it in some context, like that's growth, and that's a growth mindset right there.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but like when I, deal with a failure, I get rejected from something, like I'm not just like passive about it, like, oh, okay, that's fine. I get kind of angry. Like, I remember just one example is like sophomore year when I got cut from Nutria volleyball team. I was really mad. I'm like, oh man, I got to show these guys. So then it made me reach out to my old middle school and, see if they would employ me as their volleyball coach. And they did. And that ended up, I feel like, being a much more enriching experience than I would have had playing, on the Nutria team. And like just in college applications too, right? Every rejection I got from that, which was a lot, I was like, oh man, you know what? I'm going to show these guys that, I don't even need them. I'll do great where I'm going to school. That's kind of like how I deal with failure.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I fail, I always see it as a blessing in disguise. I feel like everything happens for a reason. And back in sophomore year, I also got cut from the basketball team. And like right after, obviously, I felt like shit. I was like, dang, man, I definitely deserve that spot. But like after that, I feel like that's when I found like my passion in like content creating and like music. And like now it just like music and like content creating has impacted my life so much, and that's where I kind of found my motivation. So yeah, I definitely see every failure as more positive than negative, because like you're learning from that experience, you're gaining more experience every single time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it really does happen like that, doesn't it? It's like it feels like every closed door just opens new ones, and you don't realize it in the moment, right? It's always disappointment, it's always anger, and then looking back, you're like, oh man, if I hadn't taken that L, I wouldn't take this W right now.
Yeah, it's 100% true. Just like same thing when I didn't even try out for sophomore year volleyball, but Brennan gave me that opportunity to coach, and it opened
Look where
like
you are
the new
now,
path
right?
to coaching. And then after I had such a great experience coaching, I was like, you know what, maybe I should become a teacher. And then that helped me find, I had no idea what I was going to major in, but through that failure of failing in high school volleyball, like it helped me discover what my major was, which is incredible. And like, even to this day, like I just got an opportunity to like work as like a travel volleyball coach. And like, I would not even have had this opportunity at all if it wasn't for that failure that I had earlier. So it's really funny how like everything was like meant to happen for a reason, and like all failures like can be beneficial. And it's not even, it could be for like the weirdest reasons. Like it could just help you find your major or your future job or anything.
Yeah, that's it. Like that's failure. Like you don't need to, as I mentioned, you don't need to have this life-changing solution, but like as you mentioned, like when one door closes, another one always opens. And that's kind of like that's the beauty of like having so many chances to do things and so many kind of strikes in life and so many years to live. It's like what mattered to me when I was 8th grade, vastly different from what matters to me now. Sorry. It's like, every kind of trial and tribulation we go through, like exposes one new shortcoming or one new success of mine, which will like lead me to something else. And so like, what I want to do career wise right now happened because I did something in 8th grade that led me to A, that led me to B, that led me to C, and all the way through the last 4 years that like have put me in this position. So like when I was in 8th grade, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna sell shoes. This is sick. I'm gonna be like going to sneaker con, going to these competitions or these conventions, sorry, and like having an Instagram presence. And then few boys and myself had a pair of LeBron 2K14s. If anyone's like versed in the shoe world, those are like the red or LeBron 11 2K14. So there's like these red LeBron 11s, had like the tiger print on the side. They were sick. I mean, they were probably retail 250, resale 400. We bought them for 400 off some guy. So we had this great pair of shoes, and we found some guy to sell it. We found some guy we're gonna sell it to for $900. And keep in mind, I'm a little boy. I'm 13 at this point. I don't know if my head for my I'm just trying to like learn and have fun. So I, with a few of my friends, we decide we're gonna sell it to this guy, and we get this PayPal confirmation. We're like, oh, bet. Like, so we mail in this package of shoes. We get like, he's like, GG, like you're wrong. So we found out we got conned. Like, this is a con artist. And how would I, a 13-year-old boy with minimal, if any, business experience, and certainly no business experience on this kind of large of a real scale, know that I was gonna be conned? I didn't do my due diligence. So what I learned there, I learned you got to do your freaking groundwork. You got to research, and you got to know what you're doing, and kind of have a strategic approach before you just jump into situations. So maybe that's a failure of mine. I didn't know I'd want to do shoes, and for me, I was like, oh, this is just like a side hobby, a passion. But what this led to is my interest in business and my interest in kind of working with other people and basketball. I'm not saying, oh my God, this is like the kind of the spark that led to Easy Hoops and led to my whole life growth and everything, but it's a step towards that direction. And that's what failure should be. It should be something that like makes you reconsider something and push towards something slightly similar. And as you keep going away, you keep kind of chipping away in these layers of your interests until you get to something that's like, wow, this is really what I like. And so, yeah, that's kind of my progression. I guess that's a failure of mine.
Yeah, man. I feel like everyone as a kid got conned at least once by someone, right? I think I got kind of conned out of Pokemon cards at one point. But that's just one of the lessons you learn, right? You can't trust people as much as you might want to. I feel like a part of what you're talking about is like is tunnel visioning, right? On certain goals or certain things you think you want to be or you think you want to happen to you. And then, you realize a few years later, oh, I want something completely different now. And I'm wondering for Chang, right? You talked a lot about hobbies on the past one and how you kind of go from one hobby to the next. Like, do you feel like tunnel visioning kind of hurts you in that aspect?
I feel like having expectations, well, most of it, like I said earlier, previous episode, like I find most of my hobbies through like YouTube and like watching YouTube videos and just having this, seeing them be successful and seeing how fun those hobbies look just really makes me want to do them. But then in YouTube, they only show the highlights, but they don't show the lowlights. And after like so many failures, you have to have like the expectation that failure might happen and will happen. Like if you're, there's not going to be like, everything's not going to be a YouTube video for that every single hobby. But once you expect like certain failures to happen and just learn from them, then you can like enjoy the hobby more and just understand it's a process less than, you're not going to be the best at anything overnight, like just right after you pick it up.
Yeah.
It's through those failures you improve. So
Anthony, do you feel like with your vlogs, right, and your social media, like was that a rough start in that area for you? Like were you proud of your first video or your first TikTok compared to like where you are now?
My first video on YouTube, when I first posted it, I was like, dude, this is the most fire video ever. Everyone's gonna fucking love this shit. But like now, looking back at it, it's like, dang, I didn't make the best work at all, and constantly learning. Like after posting every video, it's like I can visually, like I can literally like see how I've grown both as a person and as a content creator. Because at first I was like kind of like really awkward whenever I would record with friends, but now I definitely can see myself getting more comfortable, and it's just really cool to see. But as for like TikToks, it's like, oh, like my first few videos would only get like 1,000 views, like 1.5K. But now after like getting some kind of traction, now my videos are getting like 100K views, and it's just really cool to see. But a question that I want to bring up actually for y'all is, when you guys like fail and are constantly learning, do y'all ever feel like burnt out? Like do y'all ever face that challenge?
Failure is an emotional and physical roller coaster, as is life. So like when I'm kind of going through learning, like let's take this. Let's say this. I'm hopping on calls with people in the industry trying to learn more about their job. Okay. I'm gonna go a call from 4 to 4:30 and 5 to 5:30. If I kill it on a call from 4 to 4:30, my morale and my energy is gonna be so much higher going into this 5 o'clock than it would be had I just botched it. So like it's kind of building off each other that like, when what like chicken leads to the egg or whatever you want to say there, it's like, everything's going to build off what came before it. And so like, yeah, I mean, it's emotionally exhausting. It's physically exhausting, especially like, we are our harshest critic 100% of the time. And so if you're on your ass so much and you're so pessimistic and you're like, I wish I did better, that's going to be a killer. But if you're like, I didn't do well, but I know I can do better. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's some concrete steps I'm going to take to do better. I can guarantee you will not be as tired going into round 2 than you would have been had you had a different approach. So like, yeah, you should be tired, but that's normal. That's life. It's like life is 99% mental. And like, if I'm going to come in like with a good attitude, like I will be less tired regardless of if I just hit a home run or if I struck out. Like it's all perspective. So yeah, I mean, tired, yeah, but like it's kind of how you adjust your sails that matters more than the wind.
yeah, I think you're right in the fact that like being tired is a good thing, because I think to me what that tells me is that you actually care about what you're doing. Because if you weren't emotionally tired all the time, that means like you didn't care and didn't try in the first place. But having that like sense of enjoyment and then like pivoting towards disappointment, like that just shows that if you didn't care about it in the first place, you wouldn't even be feeling that. That just guarantees your success in the future, because now like you don't want to feel that anger in the future, so you're just going to improve upon it later on.
No pain, no gain, right?
Facts.
That's true.
I feel like for me at least, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but it's never like the exciting things like doing this podcast, or playing volleyball that make me experience burnout. It's always the really little tedious things. Like right now, at least this semester, writing emails to just about every like person I know, faculty and staff wise, is honestly, it's killing me. Like just the little emails every week, to the director of this program and the professor for this class, and going to the online Zoom classes is really hurting me right now. And even like just going to online office hours, I'm getting really burned out of. It's just those daily activities that are very tedious.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. And like what I'd say to that, kind of what I've learned is like there are two strategies I've used. Like one, think on the margin, and second is like think timeline wise. Like first, like again, you're in semester, so like it's a little different, but like only got like 2 or so months left. And compared to the grand scheme of things, like we've done this before, we've been through this, we've succeeded. Like 2 months not going to kill us, but like we gotta just kind of keep it going. But in terms of margins, similar notion to like writing an email. It's like one email will take me, let's say 2 to 5 minutes, right? What could this email do for me? This could set up a conversation. This conversation could set up an interview, a job. It's like not to be like, oh my God, I'm doing everything because of what's going to ensue. But like, if you think like there is like, I'm putting in this work because there's something waiting for me or there's something I'm going to obtain, that will make all this stuff like all the easier. So like, that's my perspective, like think big picture.
That's a really good point. Like for me personally, right? I just got accepted recently to study abroad in Melbourne, Australia next year, right?
Very nice.
And
Congrats.
so for me, that's like the light at the end of the tunnel, right? Like I get through this semester, I get through my classes, and the beaches of Melbourne are waiting for me. So I don't know, Ethan Rosen, do you have a light at the end of the tunnel right now that you know of?
A light at the end of the tunnel, a ton to be honest. Getting an internship next summer is important. Going to like the finance and banking recruiting is strenuous, but all the rewarding. I've had some great conversations with people who are in the field, some really intellectual, compassionate, like people who really care about their job and helping out. Like I want to be in that position. I want to be in a position where I can help people. That's always been something that's mattered to me. In one context, it was, on a basketball court, and maybe another will be behind the phone. But like, I know that by putting in the work now, like I'll help myself, I'll help other people. And that's to me, like, that's the reward. It's much more than like the job itself, but it's like, it's the value of being a part of a team and helping others that really sticks out to me.
You say that like helping people is like big passion. I could see like you're really like into that. What about factors that you don't really control? You can't really control, like COVID, for example. Like you can't really be as hands-on with helping people with that. So like, how do you handle like something that you can't really control when you really want to help, but you can't really do anything about it?
Yeah, great question. I'll say, on the Easy Hoops vein, I can speak about first, and like more of my personal life I can touch on after. Because an Easy Hoops is like, these are uncontrollables. It's not conducive to host a basketball lesson in a pandemic. That's just the nature of things. So we unfortunately had to pause things. And had I been had I been home and more fully involved, and frankly, like if I had a little more time to dedicate to organization, like we'd find other ways to go about it, a podcast, a speaker series, kind of mentorship network. Like there are other things to do that hold the mission, but maybe in a different medium. So that's the first thing I'd say. It's kind of like you kind of got to roll with the punches and adjust your skills a little bit. On my personal end, like how do you adjust with like uncontrollables? That's life. Sometimes you just kind of have to bite the bullet. And like going for a job, there are always gonna be people who are smarter than me. That's the name of the game. Those are uncontrollables. There are people who have a better conversation, who have a better interview, an application. Like I can't control that, but what I can do is I can be better myself, or I can work given the constraints I'm put in and kind of work around that. So like given these uncontrollables, you have to find the balance between like, what do you say? You have to find the balance between like rolling with the punches, as I mentioned, but also like knowing that you can do something to ease this uncontrollable aspect. So it's a little bit of both, but you just have to understand that like nobody has the power to change every single thing. You just kind of have to accept what things for what they are and work around that. That's life. And that's something that I've definitely been trying to do more and more, but it's not easy. We all struggle with that. And so it's kind of one of those things that happens over time.
That was a really good point from Ethan Rosen. But my question to you, Chang, is if you have some kind of light at the end of the tunnel, if you will, something that you see in the future that you're hoping to get to eventually.
I mean, right now, at least, it's kind of like I never thought I'd be saying this, but I miss going to classes like in person for sure. And I was really bummed that I wasn't able to do it this semester, but like I'm really excited to like go to Kansas for the first time, or not for the first time, but go to classes in Kansas for the first time. And like especially like college basketball games, like I'm just super excited. Like when I went to Illinois State, going to those like completely empty basketball games was like a huge disappointment, but like I'm so stoked to go to Kansas and I just can't wait for that. How about you,
Anthony?
Anthony?
Yeah, I feel like I've talked about the light at the end of the tunnel, like my light, a lot on this podcast, and that's
Does it involve AOC at all?
oh
Mm.
yeah, totally, yeah. I will get AOC. Okay, I mark my words. But my light is, as you guys already know, is like it sounds kind of cliche, but it's like spreading positivity. So of course I want to get a job, right? I want to get my degree in finance and all that kind of stuff, right? Like that, those are goals. But the main goal for me, like in my life, is it's similar to Ethan's. It's to like
Which
help
one?
people. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Ethan Rosen. Um, it's to help people. And as you guys like see, like in a lot of the things I do, in terms of like social media, it's like I really want to like influence people. I really want to make a change, and that's why I really wanted to start my own business. Ethan Rosen, you probably don't know, but I want to start my own clothing brand where there would be like 3 different colored hoodies, and each hoodie would be donating to like a different organization. Yeah, so my light would be spreading positivity and just helping one another.
All right, I think that wraps it up for the discussion today. I know Chang, you had an idea of a little closing segment we could do for our
Yeah,
guest here.
just give Ethan Rosen a little shout out. Go plug himself and everything.
You got the spotlight. Go ahead.
Wow. Well, boys, this has been a pleasure to be on here. It's been a great conversation. Great to catch up and just kind of just bant a little bit about everything professional, personal, all in between. So great to be here. A little, as I mentioned, a little shameless promo. Definitely check out easyhoops.net on the internet as well as at easyhoops on your local Instagram. And then, hoping for a world post-COVID. If volunteering is something of interest, don't be a stranger. We're looking for more smiling faces all the time, people who want to kind of make a change in their community. So don't be afraid to reach out or just drop me a line, whatever. But this has been a great opportunity. Follow your dreams, do your thing. Like that, life is not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. But learn from your mistakes, please fail and learn from that. And you will be a step in the right direction. So cheers, boys. This has been awesome. And, looking forward to hearing the rest of the episodes.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I think you're doing great work. And thank you so much for coming on, man. You've been
Yeah,
a
it's a
great
pleasure having
guest.
you, man.
Yeah.
My pleasure. My
And
pleasure.
for everyone listening, we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.